Today, we're going to be viewing the MRP Workbench. By doing that, we're going to go to Transactions, Supply Planning, Refresh Planning Repository. You can see here there's two options. There's the event log and there's the schedule. We're going to manually refresh it today, but we typically recommend that clients will schedule this out. On the scheduling page, you could go to create a new refresh, and you could choose whether you want it to be daily, weekly, or monthly, how often you'd like it to repeat, and when you'd like to end this recurrence. So this is typically how we'll recommend that clients set this up. But today we're going to do this manually. Let's go to Transactions, Supply Planning, Refresh Planning Repository. Here you'll have to select if you want to do a complete refresh or a net change refresh, the date range that you'd like to view your MRP Workbench through, and which supply plan definition you'd like to use. You can select your supply plan definition here and click Refresh Data. Sometimes this might take a little bit of time, so I actually ran one previously that we can view right now. You can see here in the most recent event on the supply planning event log, we have a supply plan definition item 360 plan, and we can go ahead and view our workbench results here. We can view this. It will take us to the MRP Workbench. So this is what the home page of the MRP Workbench is going to look like. On the home page, you can see the list of the items with the descriptions, what their unit of measures are, what you have on hand, on order, and if there's any late demand. Additionally, you'll see these message and order counts. You see action, exception, supply, and demand. I'll go through what each one of these means in a second. You can see this little caret to the left of some of the items. All this is showing you is that this item has a bill of materials. So you can click on it, and you can see all the component parts that make up this item. And you could also see the additional information here on these items that was shown on the main part. So first, let's go to the demand section by clicking on that 205. You can see here all the different demand actions that we have with their dates, the item that they're for, the location, and the quantity. You can scroll down and see that we have this forecast going out for quite a little bit of time. If we were to go to all the way to the next page, we can see these go out for the next couple months. Here, we can place a filter on our demand. So say we only want to look at actual demand. And click out of that. And here we're only going to see actual sales orders. So if we're looking at actual sales orders, we can go ahead and click this icon here to see the pegging. And this pegging will tell us, hey, in order to meet this sales order, these are some of the actions that we're going to have to take. So we can expand it out, and we can see here, so in order to meet this sales order by the 17th of July, we need to initiate this work order by the 14th. And in order to be able to initiate this work order by the 14th, we need this subassembly to be completed by the 14th, meaning that it would have to be started on the 13th. Also, in order to start this work order by the 13th, we would need to get this purchase order by the 13th, meaning that it would have to be placed by the 6th. You can see here that this item has a 7-day lead time, but you can actually go ahead and change that lead time on the item record to reflect whatever lead time that you need. So by seeing this, it really helps you plan what actions you're going to need to take before they happen. Next, let's go over to the supply column. Now let's navigate over to the supply section. Similarly, with the demand section, we can place some filters up here for inbound shipments, planned purchase orders, planned transfer orders, and work orders, as well as purchase orders, transfer orders, and work orders that we've already placed. Let's go ahead and look at all of the actual purchase orders. One thing that's important to note is you can see that this firm column gets grayed out. These purchase orders have already been submitted, so there's no reason that we would go in here and firm them. But if we take this filter off, we can look at planned purchase orders and see that we're able to firm up any of these purchase orders. So we look down and we can look at any planned purchase order that we want. We can see the item that it's for, to what location, and what source that we need to buy it from, as well as the quantity. If I'm looking at the details of this purchase order and decide that, hey, this is something that I want to go ahead and purchase, and go ahead and check this off and click Release Selected Orders. Release this selected order, and you'll see Planned Purchase Order 31906. This order has now been submitted for processing. So what I can do is go to Transactions, Supply Planning, Order Items, and actually create that transaction. Go here and look at my planned orders, and I can see item 31,000 or planned order 31906 is able to be purchased. I can check it here. It already has my preferred vendor, the currency, and the quantity that I want to be ordering. You know, if I want to order more, I can always change this quantity to another amount so that I'm able to have a higher number than what I think I need. And then I can go here and click Submit, and this purchase order is going to be created. If we go ahead and refresh this page, once we give it a minute to refresh, we can see that the PO number is created right here. You can click on that and go ahead and see the actual purchase order with all the information that we had just populated here. The item, the quantity, the vendor, and the date of the transaction matches up with today's date. So you can see that it was created today. Let's go back to the workbench. Now that we've gone through some of the filters for the messages up top, let's go through some of the item filters and overall MRP Workbench filters. So you can see here there's an option for Workbench View. So this is just a standard MRP Workbench view, but depending on your role in the company, you might want to hone in on specific action item types, such as only looking at the actual item demand versus the proposed versus the planned demand, or only looking at actual sales orders versus planned sales orders. So you can firm up some of those planned sales orders that you need. That's where you'd be able to select that planning workbench here, and you can see some of the different options that we have. Go ahead and select a different workbench view, and it will tell you that the data is going to display differently based on different filters. So yeah, we'll go ahead and make that change. And you can see how we're seeing fewer items, and we're only seeing planned purchase orders. Additionally, you can select different replenishment methods. We typically set things up with MRP, Material Requirements Planning, but there are other options. Additionally, there are planning item categories. Planning item categories are usually groupings of items that, you know, maybe we're going to treat a little bit differently. Some common examples of that would be maybe in the food and beverage industry, different items have to be kept in different temperatures. And you know, there's a different way that you have to plan that supply, because we'll need refrigerated trucks for certain items and non-refrigerated trucks for other items, or just general storage, things like that. Lastly, we can filter by item, and we can look at all of the items that we have running on the MRP Workbench. If it's in a specific planning item category, and say we only want to look at one item. So maybe we're seeing a large spike in demand in a specific item, and we only want to run the workbench for that item. You know, it's a lot less cumbersome and a little less tricky to look at if we're only looking at it for that one item. So it might be easier to forecast and confirm those purchase orders that we need for that item, so we have the supply necessary to meet the demand.